Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, everybody. This is episode 9 of Everyday Man Profound Conversations. This program aspires to serve the broader community by creating a connected and supportive container to facilitate engaging and often difficult conversations. We intend to create a safer, more peaceful world by confronting issues that touch some of our deepest wounds. My personal belief is that if we're going to heal our deepest wounds, both personal and societal, it starts with me and other courageous individuals who are willing to step up, support each other as we co-create a more equitable, just, empathetic, and compassionate future for us all. Everyday Man Profound Conversations is sponsored by the Charleston community within the Greater Carolinas chapter of the Mankind Project. The Mankind Project is a global nonprofit training and educational organization with 3 decades of proven success hosting life-changing, experiential, personal development programs for men. Mankind program supports a global network of free, peer-facilitated men's group and supports men in leading lives of integrity, authenticity, and service. Each monthly episode of Everyday Men Profound Conversations enables us to highlight the work of organizations within our community trying to make the world a better place. This month, I realized that our local Mankind Project group is changing the world in our community for the better as well. Also, we've discussed the Mankind Project in previous shows, and we thought it would be a good idea, an opportunity for us to share what the Mankind Project is with our broader audience. So essentially this week, we're going to sit and we're going to talk about what it means for us as men to do, quote, men's work, what it means to sit in circle with other men, and how this experience is different from traditional friendships or relationships. Each of us has a unique story and perspective on what makes being part of this circle so important and how it's impacted our lives. Typically, our meetings are held with an agreement of confidentiality, but our guests tonight, or this morning, have stepped up and have chosen to share their story with us this morning. I'm excited for this conversation. I'll just briefly introduce each man that I see here. We have Tanner Kirk, we have Jonathan Richardson, we have Ken Emmer, Michael Baller, Brenton Ruger, and myself. My name is Adam McCall. Thank you guys for showing up this morning.
You're welcome. Thank
you.
Thank you.
I'd like to start this conversation essentially with a brief check-in. And what that looks like with this check-in is basically who you are and what got you engaged with this work, this men's work. And what does that mean for you to sit with a group of men week after week? Brenton, would you mind starting us off?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So yeah, as Adam said, it's great to be here. My name is Brenton Ruger. I participated in the New Warrior Training Adventure in the year of 2005. I was prompted to attend that weekend by a mentor or teacher that I was working with at the time by the name of David Michael. Just a really profound gentleman. I knew nothing about it. I had all these stereotypes in my mind about what, men's work looked like, what men's group looked like. And I had put it in a box where I was like, that just seems kind of far out there and something I didn't need. But something was telling me to lean into this experience. And so I did. I was going through a lot in my life. I was going through actually a really tough parting of a relationship. And, things were really working well in my life in some regards, and in other regards, they were not. So it was an experience that I just felt called to lean into. And so I participated in that weekend, and it changed my life. It showed me what it looked like. I didn't even know what it looked like for men to engage with each other from the heart, without booze, without partying, without drugs, but just to connect with each other and to fiercely love one another. I just didn't know what that even looked like till that weekend. And when I saw that, it sent me on a trajectory into my own heart, into taking responsibility for my life, realizing that I am a sum of all my choices, It's not things on the external that are dictating my life. That was one of my profound takeaways from that particular weekend. And from then on, I just knew that learning from other men, being involved in a group where we get together once a week and sit down and learn from one another and share and live from the heart was something I wanted to be part of, and that it filled me up. And there's so many benefits that I don't have time to talk about, but I'll check in with that. That's what I have, and I'm checking in with that.
Great.
Oh,
Thank you for that, Brenton. Appreciate that. Tanner, would you like to share a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so my name's Tanner. You guys know. I joined this group in, oh gosh, it was late 2019, I believe. And honestly, I can distinctly remember from the first meeting that I attended, I knew it was an instant game changer. Up until that point, I had been through a lot. Mental health issues manifesting in my external relationships with other people, isolation, depression, frequent suicidal thoughts. But this group really was pivotal in getting me into a social net that could catch me whenever I were to fall down, as it were. See, I'm endlessly grateful every single day that I found you guys. I found the group because I met Michael through my mom, and that was how I had gotten the information about the group. And like I said, first meeting, instant game changer, and I have not looked back ever since. And I can honestly say that I do not recognize the person that I was before joining the group. So, I mean, yeah, it's been a long and winding road, but man, we're here now, and I don't think I could be any better off for it. I'm in.
No.
oh,
Thank you. Thank you, Tanner. Jonathan, would you like to share?
of course. Yes. Jonathan Richardson. I am affectionately known as Humble Lion in this organization. I have been associated with this group, with this organization since 2012. Can't believe it's been almost 10 years. And I call myself an inner city survivor. And I've survived some pretty rough times growing up, which projected me into a life of fear, mistrust, codependencies, a lot of things that I care not to mention anymore. And around the time when I was first attending the meetings, I was going through some really rough patches, separation, divorce, chronically ill child, but just seeing how men nurtured other men in these groups, it was, for me, like it was a game changer. A lot of mistrust is being, constantly the only black face in the groups. I liken that. I like the term to be a raisin in a bowl of rice. But quickly I learned to put it aside just for the moment and join the I groups. And I've finally, say about 2013, shortly after my daughter passed, I went through the warrior training, and I've learned a lot. It's been a life-changing experience for me. I'd love to attend the meetings more often. Life just has me in a space where I'm just not able to do that right now. But knowing there is a safety net, knowing there is a group of men, group of men who I call brothers from another mother, who are out there. I can call up anytime. I can attend a group at any time I can I allow myself to. It's comforting. It's nurturing, and it's also fulfilling to be able to connect and find some common grounds amongst men, because traditionally we all know, well, traditionally I just wasn't taught to show up in a vulnerable way. I couldn't. I don't think I would have lived where I came from if I tried that around strangers. So I'm grateful to be able to do that. I'm grateful to have found this sense of peace, this sense of community amongst men. And when I was called to do these interviews, I was more than excited in ways that I just don't have enough time to talk about right now. But with that, I'm in, and I'm eternally grateful for it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jonathan. So happy you showed up and keep showing up. Love this project with you. It's amazing. Life affirming, really. Ken, would you mind sharing next?
Sure. So my experience is a little bit different, that in as much as I've sort of orbited MKP for well over 10 years before I actually truly engaged and kind of joined, did the weekend, and started attending weekly I groups. I had started my recovery, let's say that, started my recovery from drugs and alcohol many, many years ago, and was part of a number of different sort of self-help type organizations, and met some people that were part of MKP during that time, and was offered an opportunity to do the weekend and join, and I kind of felt like I was full with a lot of other work that I was doing, and didn't see it as something that could kind of fit at the time. And it was continually sort of showing up in various circles I would show up in. I would meet somebody, oh, you're an MKP, I've heard of that. Oh, I know these other guys. And eventually one day, Brenton called me, or maybe ran into me at Earth Fair, probably that one, and said, I'm having an open meeting at my house, you should come. And at that moment, and like I said, this was probably 10, 12 years after the first time I'd heard of it, it sounded like that's what I should do. I don't know exactly what it was, but I hadn't really been engaging with any of the self-help work that I had been working with previously. Being pretty far into my own recovery, I just kind of put them down. Those groups are very different. I find that it's a little bit more an amalgam of individuals doing their own work, and there's not as much deeper friendship. There's kind of a camaraderie of, hey, we're all here working this program or this concept, but there's not the deeper familial brotherly bond that I find MKP brings to the table. And that was what really has kept me coming back at this point. And I don't see this as something that I'm doing to leave later. I just see this as something that's just as permanent as my own real brother, because it is a animal in my view, as far as a group of support, a network of men that are working towards a common goal of being the best man they can be, so that we are individuals doing our own work. But I find that the the interest in each other and the accountability that we hold is what sets it apart and what really works for me at this point, and has created this desire to stay connected, you know, at this point for forever. I mean, I don't know, I could never say that, oh, I'll never leave sort of thing, but it doesn't feel likely. Like, just like, I don't feel likely that I'm just going to leave my brother one day and say, you know, hey, that was fun since we, you know, had mom together, but we're done. Like, that's always going to be a thing. So I always will feel this bond. And, you know, I've been living away from this group for over a year, and I've stayed very, very connected. And that has really made a difference for me. So, I guess it's interesting to note that it's something that has been out there for so long, and I was ready when I was ready for it. And I'm in with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And for those who may be watching us every month, Ken is the man behind the curtain who helps put the production together for this and gets it onto Facebook and onto YouTube and so forth. And Ken, we are eternally grateful for your support and contribution to this series. Thank you so much for that. Michael Baller, would you like to share?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Michael. Within the MKP, I have an animal name, Elephant. I got involved in the Mankind Project in 2005. I was in a master's level psychology course. I had been digging into my own life, my own experience, trying to understand myself better. And I was at a point in my life where I was really struggling to understand, to identify myself as my own man. I still saw myself as the son of my father, and a boy in some ways. So I worked with this guy in the evenings, and I had this conversation with him about, you know, hey, when did you, he was an older man I trusted. I was like, so when did you feel like you became a man? And he said, it was on this weekend I did called the New Warrior Training Adventure. He gave me some information, looked it up, checked it out, and I requested to visit as a guest one of these meetings that now we all sit in. And that was the moment where, kind of like some of you've already said, like, this is it. Because what I experienced in the meeting was men talking about things that mattered, things from their heart. They had pulled away at least some level of a mask and were revealing who they were, how they felt, and talking about things I really hadn't, unless I was drunk or high and opened up on that level, I hadn't really been in an environment where men just were talking about deeper level stuff. And it was like a magnet. It's like, man, I want this in my life. So that was my first entryway into it. What I learned after I did the weekend in May 6 and started doing these groups right after that, what I found is that emotions in general, feelings, were something that for my entire life, 25, 26 years of my life, I saw them as an obstacle. They were simply things that I needed to block out and move forward with a job, making money, being, you know, doing the things that society said you should do. But emotion was, those are just getting in your way. You got to figure out how to numb them or block them out. What I've learned is that they're really important signals about the course of my life: happy, sad, anger, fear, shame, guilt. They're all very, sometimes subtle, sometimes extreme messages to point me in the direction where I need to go and give me feedback of the course that I'm on. And the more and more I understand them and listen to them, it seems my life is on it's more smooth sailing in the direction that I want to be. Yes, I get off course, but if I can tune back in to where I'm at, go to meetings, be heard, get feedback, it keeps my vessel on a more stable course. So I'm in with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Mike. I'll briefly describe my experience. My name's Adam McConnell. I've been engaged with the Mankind Project probably almost 3 years now. 2 or 3 years at this point. Tanner and I did our weekend retreat together, so we are eternally bonded that way. I was aware of the Mankind Project for a number of years. In fact, David Michael, the man who introduced it to Brenton, actually officiated my wedding 13 years ago, something like that, 12 or 13 years ago. And he mentioned it to me at that time, and it was always in the back of my mind, and I never engaged with it. I thought it was, I don't know, I was scared, really scared to show up and sort of address like what some of those underlying sort of stories that I tell myself that drive my behavior. I didn't want to address them. And at the time I was an alcoholic. I've since been sober. I'm really happy to be sober. I'm very grateful for that. But as I continued to try to live a life of sobriety, I realized that like some of the same behaviors were still there. I mean, the alcohol was just medicine, right? And so I wasn't actually, even though I had sobriety, I was still living in a state of dysfunction to some extent. And I'd recently had 2 young boys. My boys are my life now. They're 4 and 6. At that time, they were probably 2 and 4 or something, maybe 1 and 3. And I realized that like some of my behavior, my inability to manage my anger, my inability to be present with them and my wife was a real distraction and really disruptive to our family. And I really didn't know how to manage myself in an appropriate way. A friend of mine who's a member of this group is not here today, put something on Facebook, said, hey, come check out this meeting. We have an open meeting. Come check it out. We're men. We kind of keep each other accountable and support each other as we're trying to move through this crazy world. And so I did, and I showed up, and I realized at that moment that, yeah, this is the place I need to be. And for me, growing up, I never had really strong male role models, not from a parental side or even on my community, really. And so I knew that if I was going to continue to raise my boys to make this world a better place for the next generation, that I had to do a lot of work on myself. And it sort of started to touch on some thoughts and beliefs that I have about the world, that I can't do great work outside in the world if I don't do my own internal work. And so I have to continually work on myself so that I can help improve my communities, improve my families, my relationships, and ultimately, try to make this world a better place. That's really sort of part of my goal. So this experience in MKB has been extremely valuable in opening up a whole new way of seeing myself and how I engage the world and how I manage myself appropriately in the world. And I'm just really happy to be participating in this conversation and in this group. So thank you, men, for that. And I'm in with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think I want to go through a round again. Does anyone, before we move into the next sort of question, does anyone have any feedback on that they want to give? Something they may not have said or something they wish they had said that they didn't?
I just think it's cool to know that Michael brought Tanner in. I didn't know that connection was existing. So that's just awesome, to see how it works. It's so familial, the way that we come to this organization. I feel it's really interesting how it's not, I don't know, it's unique in my experience, honestly. And I just love to know that there's a deeper connection there that I was unaware of. And that's beautiful.
Yeah. I think for me, just wanted to speak to the idea of the structure of the Mankind Project, that, this, to me, this type of connection with other men is accessible in many different realms. And the Mankind Project offers me like a really intentional structure to engage with not only you men, but other men around the country. And when I say intentional, I mean that we get together and, like Michael said, we speak about things that are truly on our heart or that matter. Because, you know, and there's many different ways to do that. So, you know, I think it's important for me to just express that, you know, I love the Mankind Project. It's not something that requires us to do anything other than to just show up as our best selves, I believe, and then sometimes just show up when we're not our best selves. And that's one thing I love about it. It's not like this really intense organization. It's they offer trainings and structure, and, you know, a structure for us to get together every week and to do this work. And in this rapidly changing world, which is so much different than it was even 20 years ago, it gives me an opportunity to just really be present in my life and to be aware of what's going on around me. What are my impacts on me? What are the impacts on other people? What are, you know, and to have you guys sitting with me and being able to reflect that back to me is priceless. And, you know, and so that's it. You know, I'm the community coordinator of here in Charleston of the Mankind Project, and that's kind of my job, is to help the community thrive. But again, if men, you know, there's a lot of, I think, stereotypes about, you know, organizations like this or the work that we do or the groups that we're involved with. And part of kind of what I would love to touch on is debunking some of those and debunking some of the myths that surround what this work is. And I'm sure we're going to speak to that. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Brent. That's a good transition into sort of where we're going next. I think that what I'd like to address is how has, and I think a lot of us have touched on it with our check-in, right? But I was wondering if you could identify how your life has improved, or how is it really different now from when you started this journey, right? What is it about this group and this process of engaging with these men open-heartedly? What has changed? What has transformed in you? How has this been transformational in your life? That's where I want to go with this. So I'm going to circle around, and I might go in reverse order. I'm going to mix up the order a bit. Jonathan, I'm going to ask you to go first, if that's okay.
Sure. Repeat the question. How has it
Sure.
changed me?
Yeah, I mean, how does this work improve your life? How has it improved your life? How can it, how may it, I mean, we can't speak to other men's experience, but you can speak to your experience about how this has affected your life and potentially transformed your
transformation. Sure. Transformation for me, and what that looks like as an initiated man, has been centered around self-awareness. I've been sober coming up on 9 months, and what I realized, you know, the codependencies that I've developed in my upbringing, and which was pretty much blanketed with alcohol and other coping mechanisms. But the same way that my body has been detoxing from alcohol, I feel my energetic body has been detoxing from codependencies. So there's a huge sense of self-awareness that comes with something as simple as just a check-in. You know, that's probably one of my favorite parts of the groups, the I groups, the weekly meetings, just to check in, you know, just for me, because it gives me a brief moment to literally stop what I'm doing, stop what I was thinking, even try to, and just check in on how I feel, and that means a lot. That's an exercise that that I do pretty regularly now. When I say now, I mean this whole time period that I'm the time frame that I've been with the organization. That's the now for me. Constantly checking in, check-ins, whether it be early in the morning, midday. While I'm a massage therapist, so I have I have plenty of time to sit there and just think and work and and think out loud or just think to myself and just it's the check-in that really does it for me. And how it's changed me is, like I said, just being aware physically, being aware mentally, being aware spiritually, being aware emotionally, just being very, very, very present in my body at most of the time. I'd love to say at all times, but most of the time it keeps me grounded. It leads me to a place to stay centered and actual, if that makes sense to where I am. Yeah, that's my take.
Or
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jonathan. Michael, you get to share?
Yeah. Many things I've taken away, but one I'll share today is the idea of full responsibility for my life. And one aspect of that is understanding projection. And sometimes I think the things from the outside are controlling my life, hurting my life. They're the obstacles out there, whether it's my work, family, girlfriend, the economy. But one of the tools that we've learned, and I mentioned that I started out in this, the Mankind Project. I was in a master's level clinical counseling program. I left that program in part because what I was gaining, the tools I was gaining, Mankind Project, were moving me on a much faster line than anything I was learning in a textbook and any papers I was writing. So I let that go, and I put in I went full force into this. But one of those tools that we continue to use in our groups and on the New Warrior training is working with our shadows, and this idea of projection, that when something out there seems like it's the enemy, it's the force, when I'm given the opportunity, sometimes it's on my own, not even in a group, but we also do it in a group. We have different processes. But to be able to take a look and see, what am I hiding, repressing, denying, that is actually being reflected to me from my outer world experience that appears to be causing my problem. So once I've gotten to that level, and my judgment is once anyone gets to that level, there's no going back. In this moment, I'm experiencing something from the outside that's causing me fear, anger, pain in some form. But when I drop back in and take a look at what part of me, again, isn't owning something, is hiding something, has an old trauma that hasn't been resolved, that still could be looked at. Once I do that inner work, then it becomes obvious every time that the outer world is only reflecting back something inside of me. And so with that understanding, and in any given moment, I'll forget that and point my finger at somebody else and say they are creating this. But when I come back to myself, it offers a higher level of feeling like I'm in control and I have power over my own life. So I'm in with that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mike. I shared a lot of that.
Yeah. So There's been a lot about myself that has changed, and each one of you guys that has shared so far, I resonate with a piece of it. Certainly. For me, I think the biggest thing that I've gotten from being a part of this group is how I interact with the world, with other people. And working with shadow and working with projections, I can engage with people on a much deeper level. I know so many very powerful questions to ask people. So many powerful questions. I think one of the most powerful is, what do you want to have happen? That's a really good one. I love the way that it drills right to the center. What do you want to have happen in XYZ happening? You know, what do you want to get out of it for you? What do I want to get out of it for me? That's a very powerful question, one that I'm always asking myself, one that I want to ask other people out there in the world, just in the general greater community in which I exist. Because I'll be honest, there came a point in my engaging with this work that it stopped being about men and men's work. Like, I don't come here for the men, I come here to do the work. If I came here for the men, this would be a gay club. And this is not a gay club. It's where work gets done. So I come here to do the work, and I believe that any human being can do this sort of work. And I judge that any human being could benefit from doing this sort of work. I see its unimaginable potential and how it could help how we as people interact with each other, especially in a society as atomized as this one. Everybody's in their own little bubble, separated, isolated. That was one of the things that drew me to this group, actually. And I want to bring this level of connection out to the general community, because I judge that, oh my God, we could benefit from it so much, especially here in Charleston. Good Lord, especially here in Charleston. And in interacting with people that might not think or look like me, people who might not love like me. Yeah, I judge any human being could do this sort of work. And I seek to bring these skills that I've picked up out into the world so that I can build a greater connection with just people that I run into, you know, just like in the grocery store or something, or like baristas at coffee shops, or it's just anybody that I come into contact with. I want to bring these skills to them. Yeah, my focus has been recently a lot more on community outreach, because this group has fundamentally changed the way that I view the world, the way that I view other people, the way that I interact with other people, the way I think about how other people interact with me. I think that's arguably the biggest shift that has happened in my own mind since engaging with this work. Yeah, and I'm grateful every day for it.
Awesome.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chad. Brenton, care to share?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Adam. Gosh, yeah, I'm gonna have to course correct because you guys touched on a little bit of what I was gonna share. It's amazing like that. So there's so many impacts. And when I think back of what one of the biggest impacts that had on me, you know, personally in my life that showed up is basically crushing the boxes, the labels and stereotypes that I would put people in for me to orient myself to some semblance of safety in the world. Well, those people aren't like me, so I'm not going to connect with them. And, you know, in this organization, I judge that we are not only do we acknowledge our differences as human beings, but we look to celebrate those differences. And that's something that brings me a deep sense of connection in this world. where I used to have more like, kind of like Tanner mentioned, more of a fragmented, I was in my bubble kind of thing, and this is my lane. And there was also more fear that lived in my body because I felt like I was separate from all these people. And within this organization, just where we have and celebrate, LGBTQ lifestyles, trans lifestyles, Black, brown, all of it. And we don't just say we're all one. We say, who are you? What's your experience? What have you been through so I can understand what's going on in your life? I kind of came into this organization as, and no offense to people who are spiritual. That's not where I'm going with this. I came in more of a spiritual being and kind of like, it's all good. Everything's good, man. Chill out. Like, just, we're all one. And I was quickly interrupted to like, yeah, okay, there's a place for spirituality and there's a place for that to connect with, source and all that. But we are in a human experience here. We are in a human experience. I'm not in the ethereal world. I'm not transitioned. I am right here, and I wanted to do the work right here to understand myself. And by understanding others' experiences, I've come to know myself on a much deeper level. And I've come to decrease the fear in my life, where somebody may have a different point of view or a different perspective and be very strong in that perspective, that I can hear them and listen to them and acknowledge that that's their perspective and not take it personally if it conflicts with my perspective or my belief in life. And so I feel like I continue to learn, I continue to evolve, I continue to grow through getting to know other men, and through getting to know what their experience is on this earth and what they go through. And that allows me to show up and really live, which is another thing that we have in Mankind Project, is a mission of service. And it allows me to really step into my own personal mission of service in this world on a much deeper level, because I get to shatter all these boxes and stereotypes and just really get to look at a man's heart and, hear their heart and hear when they share, and to find I found a way to truly love and access this strength that I didn't know existed as a result of opening my heart. I didn't know this strength and able to be in this world existed until I really opened my heart and got to see other men doing the same and got to hear what they've been through and some of their stories. And it's like, wow, that's a big impact on me. It's just the strength that I feel every day as a result of being in this organization and being in this circle and connecting with you men. So hopefully that makes some sense. It's kind of all over the place, but it made sense to me. So that's all that matters. I'm in with that.
Oh.
I hope.
I heard you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ken.
Yeah. So I'm just going to share a real specific example of what I've been through. So my mother passed away just literally over a year ago, just a few days over a year ago right now. And her diagnosis of lung cancer was 9 months, I guess, before she passed away. And coming to iGroup when that first happened, and then as it continued to happen, it gave me a place to really be with all of those feelings and work through them in a way that I don't know that even though I have a very deep relationship with a lot of my friends. And I think this really speaks to what you said at the very beginning, Adam, how this group is different than just friendships and other relationships. This is another classification of a way of connecting with others. So, each week I was free to just feel those feelings. And when it comes to the death of your mother, it's a place that is just not anything that I ever wanted to prepare myself for and be ready or have any sort of skill in navigating. I just wanted to just show up and be, and I felt safe to be able to do that. And I definitely feel that I could deal with that incredibly traumatic experience in a way that has truly served me and has not wounded me. You know, like, oh, now that my mother's dead, I'm going to be wounded and I'm going to have a harder time in my life. It improved my life. And I know that might sound funny to somebody that may not understand, like, wait, your mom's passed away and it improved your life. It's not better because she's gone. It's better because I can be who I am through any experience I have, regardless of the magnitude and how it affects my life. I can be the best version of myself that is, I'm free to be that. And the I groups are a place where you can just show up and be who you are and see how it feels. Try it on, in a sense. And I was never afraid. I mean, there were moments where I was angry and sad or happy. And maybe the angry and the happy may, some societal rule may say, oh, you should not feel happy, or you definitely shouldn't feel angry about this. I was able to play those emotions out and see what they brought to my experience. And it just was what it was. I felt whole the whole time. And each of the men that were present during the time, it was a different set of men every week. I mean, there's a core group, but it was my experience, and the other men were holding the experience for me. So it didn't matter who was there. I guess what I'm trying to say is the whole organization creates like this continuum of support, and each man who shows up is just holding up his piece at that time, which makes it, I could go anywhere and be in an I group in a different city and not feel like, oh, I got to catch these guys up on my life. I can just show up and be me, and they understand it, and they're showing up being them, and I don't know who they are, but I can still show up for them and support them. And I think that that's something that is unique, because normally with my other friends, before I can kind of be me, I got to show up and like tell the story. Okay, let me catch up. Now let me have my emotional response. I don't got to catch you up. I just show up with my emotional response. And that has really delivered a sense of wholeness for me, even with such a traumatic experience happening. So yeah, I'm in with that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Hey, Adam, can I speak to something really quick?
Yep.
So the structure of the Mankind Project, as we talk about I groups, just for our listeners, the I group represents an integration group. There's many of them all over the nation. Some of them are open groups, meaning you don't have to have gone through that new warrior training adventure weekend. And some of them are closed. They prefer men who have graduated that weekend to be part of that I group. The one we have here in Charleston is what we call an open group, so guests are welcome. We invite any man who just wants to experience this to come in and do that. I just wanted to share that. We've used the term I group a little bit. I just wanted our audience to know what an I group is. It's simply a group. And it's under the umbrella of the Mankind Project. So we have certain structure within that group that we typically follow, unless we don't. But I just wanted to share that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Brent. And I have to take some notes of some other things that we needed to define, but that's good. I will just briefly share my experience. Let's see. So for me, I think the biggest takeaway, the biggest transformation for me, and I think each of your responses has sort of triggered a little bit of this in me, is that I hold myself these hidden beliefs about myself that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm unlovable. There's some level of there's a deep story that I have been unconscious of my entire life. And that story has driven decisions that I've made that have got me to where I am. And I'm very fortunate to be like where I am. I'm blessed that I'm even alive really currently. And so I'm very thankful for that. But I had a lot of risky behaviors and a lot of risky approaches to life, and then a lot of unconscious approaches to life. And all of that is driven by these sort of unconscious beliefs that I had about myself. And so just shining a little bit of light on that, and I think what Michael referred to as shadow work, is really kind of shining a light on what those beliefs are and trying to become conscious, hold those beliefs out in front of you and understand like how that's driving your behavior. And what that allows me to do is to slow down when I engage in in life, and I may have conflict, I may have fear, I may have sadness around this. I can sit with that now in a more mature way because I'm aware of what some of those beliefs are, and I can put them in a frame of reference that allows me to approach the world in a less reactionary way. And I think for me, I was driven by reaction. I'm just like, here's stimulus, here's reaction, and I just need to like, I still fall into that often. I'm not cured of it or something, but like it certainly has brought that awareness to me. And I think that's been really, really invaluable in improving my relationships with my wife and my children and my father, me being a parent, my greater community. Really, it's improved my work approaches and relationships. I think that's really critical. And the other thing I think that really speaks to me is just the power of the group themselves. I know we've spoken to that, and a lot of you watching haven't really experienced it, but there is a sort of magic that happens there. And the reason they call it men's group, and I think Tanner spoke to the fact that these can happen anywhere with any people. It's not necessary. This work is not exclusive to men, but I think that historically, culturally, we've sort of not addressed the fact that men are not that they're not able to, that we have not traditionally engaged the world open-heartedly in a way that allows us to be vulnerable and connected, and and let us put down sort of that exoskeleton that we sort of put up when we engage the world. And there's a sort of magic that happens when you peel that back and you start to create a space where you can just hold space for people in a non-judgmental way, for them just to be them, and for people to accept you as you are, and to be there to support you if you need it. It's a really, really, really beautiful and really powerful experience that I hope that more men are able to have as we continue to evolve as a culture. That's really been a very important insight for me. And I'll check out with that. That's what I'm gonna leave that. This hour is going by very, very, very quickly. I was hoping that we would be able to engage in a little more depth of conversation. I know there's a lot of guests here today. I guess we have 5 minutes. Because Brenton and Jonathan and Ken can show up every week, I do want to ask Tanner or Michael if there's something that they want to share about their experience or the MKP project in general, or really anything before we check out. I would just want to offer you guys some time to share the additional thoughts you may have.
Yeah. Well, something that's really resonated with me talking about the structure of the I group is just how decentralized it is. Leadership rotates, and we have facilitators, but nobody really has any kind of official position outside of maybe some of the more community engagement oriented sort of duties. Other than that, anybody who's willing to step up and facilitate something is more than welcome to do so. And I love how I love that it was able to provide me a taste of a different sort of organizational mindset of whoever is willing to step up and do something, whoever is able, you are encouraged to step up. I love that free flowing nature of it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tanner. Michael, any parting thoughts for us?
Just that, yeah, there's so many reasons people that I've observed why men get involved. But it's for me, there's a few things I didn't say is it allows a connection. Sometimes I can isolate. I don't even realize I'm doing it. So to have that space where I get to go and do some inner growth, personal growth, and connect, there's some medicine and value just being did in a physical, literal circle, in a circle that's so valuable. And one other thing that I didn't mention before is that, yeah, you can come in and observe and not say a word. That's what I did when my first meeting. I was a fly on the wall, and it had one of the biggest impacts on my life, and I didn't open my mouth. To the other extreme is where I've struggled to see myself as a leader in life, in the exterior world, in my own life. And the Mankind Project is now giving me an opportunity through leading meetings, through stretches that I create, commitments that I make within the group, to step in to the leadership possibility that I know I own, and that's part of my work, is to move into that. That's been another gift. So my last message, there's so many reasons that I've been involved in. If there's an audience out there listening that's wondering why, you may not even know why, but if you showed up and checked out a meeting, something might click for you. I'm out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Thank all you men for showing up here this morning, and thanks our viewers. Time is precious, and if you spent an hour with us, we really do appreciate it. We'll probably put some links below the video as to how you can engage with us if you're interested in joining an iGroup or have additional questions. We have a number of men who could help answer questions or put you in the right direction if they can't help you directly. So I just want to say thank you so much. I really, really, truly honor my relationship with each of you men. My life is greatly enriched for it. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and check out. We're right at 10 o'clock. So
Yeah, thanks to our audience. Thanks for everybody who tuned in and spent this hour with us. Thanks for the privilege of your time. Yeah, this has been great.
This was a great experience. It was great to hear and connect and always see you men.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to commune and hold space for each other, and just take in everything that's said, and be able to be valued with what can be given.
thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Next. Oh, Tanner, we need one word from you.
One word, huh? Gratitude.
Okay.
I'll throw in connection for good measure.
Brenton, one word.
Integration.
Michael.
Courage.
Ken.
Happy.
Jonathan.
Honored.
Adam. love. I'm out.
Uh,
Thanks.